Afternoon. I'll be honest, I can't remember where I left you at with the last video, so just going to pick up where I'm at today with this RS2000 van. YouTube's on as usual. I'll be honest, it's just unplugged, I don't know who's on. Stripped down today. We've had to drop the front off, the radiator or the water system. Don't usually drop all that off to get a manifold off, but it wasn't your standard manifold. You have to drop this engine to get this manifold on now, which was that one there. I'll come back to that in a minute. But cams out, chain sides all dropped, bottom pulleys off, so I'm going to drop the guides off, drop the chain out, ready to fit new cams, well, new buckets and new cams. Lifters seem worse. Head tidy enough. She's had hard life, the oil stains, so she hasn't had regular oil changes in her life, but she needs a good scrub out. But I've seen a lot worse. The heads, couldn't see it before, but down here where the cylinder heads always go, I'll show you. So clean finger, and then if I get in here, that's a mixture of carbon out the exhaust and oil that comes out an oil gallery just down here in the head. So this head is starting to lift. It will need a head gasket, but these will go on for literally ever with that little corner lift. It's what they do. Ideally it's a part, so ideally you'd want to put a head gasket on, but it's going to have a full forge build in the future, I think 2.3, so I think the customer probably want to avoid getting the head gasket done. I'm not sure how long he's going to keep this configuration of engine set up, 2 litre with cams and throttle bodies. So yeah, if he's going 2.3 or forged in the future, if it's in the distant future, I'd advise air gasket, so I'll let him know. But it's not falling apart, but that manifold is. I'll get to that in a sec. There's the cams I've took out, standard cams, set of pipe cams to go back in. This is the new profile cam. It's a 285 cam, brand spanking new. So when we get this engine running, I'm going to have to make sure she's top health, because I need to break those cams in at 2,500 to 3,000 revs for a good 20 minutes. It's not a nice thing to do, but yeah, it's always nerve-wracking breaking cams in. You have to sit there with the engine running at a decent rev for a good 20 minutes. It's just to basically put the cams through a heat cycle, and it makes the lobes hard, it makes the cast cam hard, it just hardens up the cam. If you don't do the heat cycle, you'll just smash the lobes up on your first run on those lifters, so we'll get there. Whilst I'm looking in the bay for a moment, I noticed when I took out the pass tank, header tank, there's a bit of cancer, bit of rust coming on this inner turret top. Everywhere else pretty tidy, really tidy actually, it's just there. So I've told the customer I'll get some rust treatment, and I'll rub this back, put some rust treatments on it whilst it's accessible. So if I just take that off, flat this back, rust treat it, if I can get a can of paint the same colour or tidy it up, it's afternoon's work, but it's worth it, because turret top, if this travels up here, then you're going to have trouble. This is where you have trouble with the Escos, so thankfully it hasn't travelled up to this so far. So if we prevent it from moving anywhere else, it'll stay solid. This manifold, yeah, look at that. That says if I put all my strength into these two sides, they're separate, that's how it sits. It's just push fitted into there. Theoretically, when you put these on, these top pipes should expand through heat and close up the join here on this 4-pot collection area, but he drove it all the way here, a good few hours here, and it's still blowing, so these aren't heating up how they're theoretically designed to. So this needs, get rid of these tabs for these springs and weld this up. But because if I weld it up like that, that's never going to go back onto the cylinder head. So what I'm going to have to do, is get a cylinder head on a bench, bolt this to a cylinder head floating, so it's floating down, put the 4th pot collector on, and then weld whilst it's bolted to a cylinder head. I can't do it on the car because cross member's in the way, you never get the TIG welder in there. So yeah, that's going to be annoyingly awkward to do, but it's got to be done, because if you're doing all this work with cams and throttle bodies and ECU, and it's aiming for a good response, and you've got a big massive exhaust manifold leak, it's just counterproductive, waste of time. So that's another project in itself. But before I tackle that, I'm going to get the cams in here, get the timing chain side back on, new filter, new oil, get all this bolted back together, and then all I'm waiting for is the throttle bodies to turn up with the ECU. Then tackle that. Throttle bodies and ECU for a moment, it's going to be another couple of weeks, so hopefully before they come I'll have all this buttoned up. We'll see. What else am I on with? I'll take you into the other garage. I've had a few bits arrive and another stumbling block on the Maxi, so I'll show you in a minute. Well, back in the other garage with the F2 and the Cozzy. Bit of an update on these. I had these done of XYZ fabrication, Dave, my turbo fans. These were 10mm. When this was on the wheel, it just didn't look proud enough. Didn't look like there was enough air in here. It was going to suck in the air to cool the braking system. That's the whole point of them. So I had Dave make me up a new set of these in 20mm, exactly the same, just with a 20mm clearance, and much better. Look at that. Now to me, that looks like it's going to do the job. There's a 20mm gap there. Suck the air into those brakes. So bit of work to do yet. So I'm going to take these back off. I'm going to paint these black, and hopefully Dave's going to get me some stickers exactly the same as these in red, so I can just put a sticker in there. Saves me getting a little brush and painting these red. I think he's having a bit of trouble converting a file format at the minute for the stickers, but yeah, 20mm. They're on to a winner with them. Much better. Much better. As well, on this F2 progress so far, little things like the 1/8 MPT tap turned up, and I was able to run it through this cast thermostat housing, so this doesn't sit proud anymore, nice and flush. That's my AN6 back to the, that's overflow back to the header tank over there. As well, in here the bell housing arrived. I don't know if I told you in a previous video. Satchel Engineering managed to get me the MTX75 bell housing from Beckert, is it? Again, not sure what country they are, but it was shipped from overseas. You see the gap? There's a good 15mm clearance issue here. Basically, this clutch is TTV billet flywheel. I think it's 4 kg, and we've got a 4-paddle helix with a pressure plate on there, all brand new, but it's too big. You see the, on all 4 sides, it's a 9 1/4 inch clutch, matching flywheel TTV. It's too big, so basically I've been on to TTV Racing, and they've sorted me out a new flywheel which is 2.9 kg and a 7 1/4 inch trim plate clutch and pressure plate to go onto there, which will then allow clearance for this bell housing to go on to the block, because there's a good 15mm issue there at the minute. I did look at other routes. I thought to myself, well, I've got standard bell housing, I'll just cut it off and make a sandwich plate for there. So this kicks the bell housing out and then make a sandwich plate for the release bearing to press down onto the pressure plate. But yeah, things are on the shelf. So, well, basically I had a spare TTV flywheel, brand new, spare helix pressure plate and spare brand new helix clutch, but it was a fast road. It's not a this was a 4 paddle on here. I've got a spare brand new setup, so all that's brand new with the billet flywheel. I've sold that, and not enough to pay for the new TTV flywheel and clutch, but it's enough to go towards it, so it's not a big dent in my pocket, and don't feel so bad about replacing it all now. So that's sold. That's sold to a lad who's bringing an engine to me in January for I'm not sure if it needs a rebuild yet. It's a turbo engine, so I'm gonna have a look at that in January. But yeah, so there's the box without a bell housing. Basically, not sure what the turnaround is. The lead time is from TTV. I didn't ask, but it's all paid for, so I'm waiting for that to turn up. Then I'll change this, get the box in, and start measuring up for engine mounts. So one step closer. So hasn't been straightforward, because if you remember, this came with a Duratec bell housing. So the first issue I had was getting the correct bell housing, which is that was the best part of a grand in itself. Yeah, we do these things, but we'll get there. That box, it's worth it, because 6-speed sequential, it's going to be amazing. Managed to find an engineer in Wales who's going to try and mock me up one of these. I asked on Facebook, one of my friends linked me to an engineer. I did have a reply from Flat Shift. They're advising to run a 5mm thread into the throttle body, but if you look there, basically that's where the 4mm is. They're advising to run a 5mm, because they're saying the 4mm that they've had in the past is cracked. If you look on here, there's a bracket there, but I'll make a bracket that comes up from that M4 that braces this route, basically. So that'll take the weight. I'll take the weight off the thread, and I'll put the weight into this bracing. So there'll be bracing across there and a bracing coming up into this. I want to keep it 4mm, because there's just not, if you look at that, there's hardly any meat there really. So if I start drilling this and tapping out to an M5, I just can't see it being strong enough. I can't see that being strong enough. It's an M4 at the minute. I can't see that being strong enough to go to an M5, which this is. This is also too short. I need this to be extended to 100mm. That's about 50mm at the minute, so it needs to be double the length so this can clear this injector, basically. Not sure any other way around it, but that's my blipper. So hopefully the Welsh engineer, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he'll get back to me soon with a longer thread. We'll get that on. Starting to have a bit of a tidy up in the garage, getting there slowly. The Cosy, got bits ready to go back on. This standard inlet, standard throttle body, pulley, things ready to go back on, because I did try, I think I did a video, I did try the Gemvis on, and I wasn't happy with them. I didn't want to delete the aircon. Just didn't want to go down that route really, because I thought it was just a rabbit hole, because start deleting aircon, running Gemvis. A lad called Lee, you might know him, he runs a Lotus doing wheelies up pod. He advised me as well that the ITBs, anything over 0.2 bar, were leaking. He was going to run a set, so single throttle bodies on boost. He said his experience was that from them that they leaked. So that's not great, is it? Apparently when you're running set, you don't really notice unless you're going for mapping and then you have issues, but if you're running a big turbo, yeah, just from that advice alone put me off. So I'm going to leave it as is, put it back together, I need to get a new water pump. I still need to drop all the front off, get down to the bottom pulley, remove the bottom pulley, crank seal. So this is another couple of days work once I get the rest of the parts. So a nice new timing belt, water pump. But even then, I've been told the new water pumps from Burton are coming with cast issues, so they're leaking. So I might go to PJ, speak to PJ Motorsports about a water pump and a pulley and stuff. Yeah, that's staying as is. That's another couple of days work. We'll get this back on the road. We're not going mad with it. Just get it looking tidy and enjoy it, and rag it and enjoy it for what it is. Get that steering wheel on. Replace the matrix that's in there. A few jobs. But I can potter around on that and get that back on the road. Without too much work. So did bang these Genvis up for sale. You know what it's like, just idiots, absolute idiots on Marketplace. And don't do eBay, I don't sell things on eBay. I buy things off eBay, I don't sell things off eBay. So if anybody wants to buy these, they're up for sale, a couple of grand. If not, they look good on the shelf next to turbos and throttle bodies. And this is why people think I'm a hoarder, because basically I can't deal with people when it's flogging stuff, do you know? So I'd rather leave them there. They can stay there. Even that's not going to get used now, because to fit this, need individual coils. Unless I do look down the route of, if I can get them twin coil packs converted like we've done in the RS2000, this will go on. If not, that'll be a bit of wall art as well, and billet engine cover. You know it is, things change by the day. I've got to speak to ALD. I've got to send ALD some money as well. You know, ALD Developments, Andy, he's done me a copper gasket to go on there. I usually buy a few things off him, but might get one for that turbo engine. But for now, I'll just get one for this. Yeah, nice copper gasket. He's done the T3, T2, I think T3, T4 turbo gaskets out of copper as well. He's done the Cosworth manifold gaskets. Now, if I hadn't had that manifold off at the moment, still I'd bought some Cosy gaskets off him, but that's back on now with new gaskets, so I can't be bothered to take it back off. So I'll just get RS2000 copper gasket off him. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I'm excited to get the twin plate clutch. I've never ran a twin plate clutch on any of my own cars. I've put them on customers' cars. I know they're a bit on off. A friend of mine has advised me as well. It's just like a switch. So thank God it's hydraulic. Cheers.